Welcome to another exciting, it won't be exciting, episode of Celluloid Citizens. I was about to say Miskatonic Musings. Wow.
Jesus.
Blast
Sorry.
from the past.
Didn't mean to throw you off your game here.
We have our very special guest and unofficial co-host, Charles Meyer,
Don't
back
put
on the
me
show.
an unofficial co-host yet. It's just my second time. It's my second
I'm
time
doing
back.
it. I don't care. People won't be hearing this for another year probably, so.
Hi, thank you for having me back, though.
Yeah, I mean, I was really on the fence about whether I wanted to cover this with Mr. O'Connell or you, but ultimately I chose you.
I thought you were going to say I was really on the fence about having you back, because that Stalker episode, choo boy.
Yeah. But this will be more your speed, because we're going to be covering 2017's The Snowman, which is a very, needless to say, divisive film. Not because it's transgressive, but because it's either really bad or really weird, or both.
It can be both, and it is.
And it is. It was directed by Thomas Alfredson, who actually did Let the Right One In and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Like, legitimately award-winning director.
Which adds to the inexplicableness of it being such a weirdly, possibly bad film. And it was written by Peter Strawn, Hossein Amini, Soren Sveistrup, probably pronounced that wrong, and based on the novel by Joe Nesbo. So at the top of the hour, The Snowman is based on a book from a series of books about a detective named, and I'm not kidding, it's pronounced different in Norwegian, but I think they're Norwegian. It's pronounced Harry Hole, okay? That's what the name is in English. That's what it sounds like in English, is Harry Hole.
Yeah. Love it. Love a Harry Hole.
Inspector Harry Hole is the full nomenclature.
Yeah.
Oh, and I should say Michael Fassbender stars as the detective himself.
Yeah, it's a great cast, which makes sense considering the caliber of director. And I know you said one of the screenwriters was one of the guys who did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy as well. Like, this is a legit Hollywood production. Like, they got people, you know?
I think why I wanted to cover this was, and I don't remember what episode, but there has been an episode of Celluloid Citizens where I told Brian, I don't want to cover bad movies just because they're bad, because I think that can be low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have nothing wrong with analyzing what, by all accounts, should be a good movie and wondering why it isn't, because I think that's fascinating. Because, I mean, on paper, it's based on a best-selling series of Scandinavian crime novels, which I've read one of them. They're decent.
Mm-hmm.
It's directed by a seemingly good director. Seemingly good screenwriter was attached. Michael Fassbender is great. You know, the cast is great.
It's got damn Val Kilmer, man.
It has Val Kilmer in it. And yet, it is one of the most universally bombed movies I have seen.
Yeah, no one... You may be the first person I've talked to that likes this movie a little bit.
Well, the thing... I mean, we'll get into it, but that's the thing. I don't know if I like it. Because the first time I saw it, I didn't like it, because I was expecting maybe it'd be good.
Yeah.
And then the next time I watched it, I was expecting it would be bad. But it wasn't quite as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
So now I'm in this weird kind of in-between purgatory where I don't know whether it's good or bad.
I can relate to that. I'm at the first part of that. I only watched this movie once, and I didn't care for it.
Okay.
But I'm reminded of another movie that I watched it the first time, thought it was dull and boring and bad, but I kept thinking about the movie, and then I rewatched it, and then I rewatched it, and now I've seen it like 17 or 18 times. That is the film Vampire, directed by Carl Theodor Dreyer.
Okay, all right.
This has the potential to me to be one of those slow-growing, weird movies.
I think what it is that no matter whether you think it's good or bad, there is a weird pull this movie has, and I don't know what. Maybe it's just that it's Michael Fassbender, who's a decent actor.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I mean, I don't like those Alien prequels, but I'll still rewatch them because he's great in them.
He's fantastic as David and not David.
And
I don't remember
other
who the
guy.
fuck his name was in Covenant.
He'll do the fingering, yeah.
Yeah. Same year as The Snowman, Fingering and Harry Holes. Banner year for Michael Fassbender.
It really was. So I suppose before we go into it, before I forget, this is the second episode of Celluloid Citizens that is based on a meme, or rather, the idea came about from a meme. So I would argue what became more famous over the film was the meme Mr. Policeman.
Sir, if I may.
Okay.
I believe it's just Mr. Police.
Or Mr. Police.
Sir, yeah.
Because the advertising campaign was rather silly. I mean, no matter what, it's rather silly. It's a little stick figure snowman, and it's something along the lines of Mr. Police, I gave you all the clues. And people started giving it the meme treatment. And, 3 years later, if you look for Mr. Police, you can find memes aplenty. And my partner, Emily, showed me this comedic video in the vein of the Monster Mash that came out around Halloween called Mr. Snowman, I think, or Snowman, which is basically just someone singing about the Snowman, the 2017 film.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean,
I think that video, you had me watch it before we started doing the episode, and that may be in a similar spot as this movie. Watching that video, I didn't really like it. I didn't think it was that funny. But for the last 2 hours, that song's been stuck in my head constantly.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's not funny. And yet, I've had that song I've had I'm the Snowman, oh, I'll just wake up some days and it'll be in my head. And I'm like, why is it in my head? Why? It's not really good. It's not really funny. So I want to do a brief discussion on memes and how they apply to culture. Because there is no denying if I wasn't inundated with weird The Snowman memes, I probably would never have thought about this movie again.
That honestly, that's a testament to the power of memes, Because as a military man once said, human memories, ideas, culture, history, genes don't contain any record of human memory. But is it something that should not be passed on? Should that information be left at the mercy of nature? And that's what a meme is. It's us passing on this genetic information of these cultural significant events and spreading them like viruses through the internet.
Yeah, and I should specify too, I'm talking about meme in the sense that Richard Dawkins talks about the word meme, and indeed in the sense that Metal Gear Solid refers to the term meme.
Oh, what's that? Who's that?
What?
Metal what now?
Never mind. But essentially, most people think of a meme as a funny picture and then you can swap out the text.
Right.
But what a meme actually is, it's car jingles, it's cult heroes, it's like Davy Crockett or Johnny Appleseed. It's songs that take off. It's just things that enter into the popular consciousness, and then they just become part of everyday vernacular. Like when somebody says like, oh, it's a real Frankenstein's monster, like you don't have to have read the book to know what they're talking about.
Right, they're referring to the sex position.
Yeah, exactly. But so as it applies to this film, yeah, I watched this in the theater. Obviously was a bit upset because I was like, I paid so much money.
Oh, you saw it in the theater even?
I saw it in the theater.
Oh, damn.
It was like getting slapped in the face with some kind of weird Scandinavian pickled fish. But so yeah, I watched it the first time, hated it. And then a number of years went by, and then before Halloween, Emily showed me that weird song, and I had seen the Mr. Police memes every once in a while. And then I just got it in my head, like, I need to watch this movie again, and I need to see like how it stacks up 3 years later. And I think at this point we need to just start going into the film like in chronological order, because it is it is a weird movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, please. Let's dive into the story of Mr. Police.
Okay. So we begin the film in what is seemingly flashback, or at least takes place before the events of the film.
Yeah.
We only find this out later. But anyway, there is a small child who seems to have an abusive either dad or stepdad. Admittedly, I've kind of memory dumped this part, other than the fact that his dad is abusive. Like he makes him study geography and then he beats him or something.
Yeah, the takeaway I got from it is basically this cop. He doesn't know it's his dad at the beginning. He comes around every Tuesday to teach him history and fuck his mom, which okay. And if he gets questions wrong, his mom gets hit. The blow up at the beginning of the movie is essentially the mom being like, "Hey, you gotta tell the kid that you're his dad. I gotta tell your wife."
Ah, okay.
And him being like, "We're not doing that," and the mom choosing to kill herself because of that and try and kill her child too.
I mean, this is just the beginning in a long line of...
First 5 minutes, you know?
In a long line of decisions that seeming human beings make, where when you think about them for a millisecond, you go, what? Like, okay, I get being sad that you're, the father of your child is kind of discarding you. I even get, I guess, the desire to kill oneself. Why would you do it in a car?
Oh, I was going to say, why would you do it to the kid? But I guess the car is a good question, too.
Like, why would you do it in a... Why would you kill the kid also? But even then, it's like, it's cold. You could use pills. But I mean, even more beyond that, we don't really know enough about this woman to understand what her mind is like, but it just seems very out of left field.
Yeah, we're not introduced to her too much in the movie. You'd mentioned you read one of Unesbu's Harry Hole books. Which one was it?
Yeah, I read, what the hell was it called? It was one of the early ones. It was about a former soldier who had survived World War II.
Okay.
I don't know. I just liked it, and I liked that the setting was Norway. It got into like police procedure in Norway, which I found fairly interesting.
Okay.
And it's sort of, he hops around the globe at one point. Like, he visits somebody in Africa for some reason to interview them about this World War II soldier who is now an old man. I believe the plot is something along the lines of he's planning to assassinate someone, and Harry Hole is trying to figure out who this man is before he can. Mm-hmm. But no, it was good. It not even ironically good. Like, it was just good.
Well, the reason I ask is because I have read a little bit of The Snowman. As soon the minutes after you asked me to come back on the show and talk about The Snowman, I was self-conscious because I thought I did a bad job on the Stalker episode.
You did a great job.
Don't. I'm not fishing for that, but thank you. But I felt I was off my game, so I overcompensated. I immediately ordered the Blu-ray of the movie. I got an ebook of the book and the audiobook to go with it, with the intention of getting through the entire book, watching the movie, watching the commentary, and watching all the special features, coming in with a boatload of notes to just really blow your fucking socks off.
Right.
I watched the movie once, and I am 6 chapters into the book. So, failure on that part, but I did pick up one.
But, okay, I guess the question, because I've never actually read or done the audiobook of The Snowman, is it good?
So far, I'm liking it a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was at with this early part of the series. Like, I was like, this is objectively decent.
It's a little too horny in some respects, in my opinion. There's one scene with one of the detectives hitting on Katrine, the character played by Rebecca Ferguson, the new detective in the precinct. It's kind of gross. But the rest of the book is really good so far. And the reason
to be fair, the one I read, it was mainly, it's hops between an old man and Harry Hole. Mm-hmm. But there wasn't that much horniness. I think because there was an old man as the subject matter.
Fair. But the reason I wanted to bring this up when we were talking about the prologue, I watched the movie after listening to the first chapter of the book, and the only thing that stuck with me is that the man that's fucking the boy's mother has no nipples.
Oh, is there some weird Thomas Harris stuff going on?
I think.
So Thomas Harris is, and I don't want to railroad this too much, but Thomas Harris has this delightful tendency to just throw bizarre stuff into his novels. Like, did you know that the character of Hannibal Lecter supposedly has 6 fingers and red eyes?
I did know that. I think that's really dumb.
It's so dumb.
I think it's goofy.
It's in there.
But it is. And that's the thing. I was going into this movie expecting the nipple thing to pay off big time. I thought that is how Harry was going to identify the killer.
They were gonna. To be fair, they do not approach this in the film in any way.
I don't even know if anyone takes their shirt off in this movie, to be quite honest.
I mean, it's cold. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But so
there's just before we get back to just movie stuff, I do want to drop the other little tidbit from the novel that I kept, because again, I'm very early in the novel. In the novel, Harry Hole is a Slipknot fan.
Okay, is he?
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
I mean, it's not really... They probably couldn't afford the rights, so...
And also, the book set in 2004, the movie set in 2017, it made sense in 2004. I don't know if they could pull off a Slipknot fan plot.
Oh, yes, that him being in... Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
Anyway,
I'll give the film credit. There is a timeless quality to the film in that it's so, perhaps this is just my ignorance of never having been to any Scandinavian countries. But there is sort of this like out of time quality to the film where it's like, it could be 2017, could be 2005. I have no idea.
Well, it's smartphones though.
Well, okay, they're cell phones. So the cell phone's kind of dated, but past that, yeah. So anyway, this is the first kind of weird turn is this woman kills herself in her car by just going out on some thin ice, and the son manages to escape, and she sinks to her death, and that's the beginning of the film.
Mm-hmm. It's an intense intro.
It is intense, and there's a car chase. I hesitate to say it's bad. Like I was on board. I was like, okay, this is intriguing.
Oh yeah.
And then we are introduced to, in this American version, Harry Hole.
Hell yeah.
Spelled Hole.
Which, to be fair, in the audiobook, it is also pronounced as Hole. So.
It is, guys. But, so our hero, ladies and gentlemen, we find him passed out drunk in some sort of, I don't know if he's on a playground or in some sort of
children's facility.
Yeah, I mean, needless to say, it's not somewhere you should probably be passing out.
No.
Also, the least of which because, bro, you're in Norway. It probably got to like -20.
Well,
like the fact he still has fingers and toes is amazing, and we'll get back to that. But
it may be I hate to go back to the book because I'm 6 fucking chapters in, but in the book the killings start in like late August, so it's not.
Oh, okay.
Again,
right.
this
so it might
this
be,
is our
okay.
ignorance of,
because in the film they make it seem like it's the dead of winter.
That's the thing though. Our ignorance of Norway, like of late August there is dead of winter here.
I mean, I'm sure that they could get snow in August. What the hell do I know?
It's probably a lot worse than the dead of winter, or maybe I'm just fucking projecting, and the movie was supposed to be dead of winter. Who knows? Who
knows? But so we're introduced to Michael Fassbender. He is Harry Hole, and he is a drunk that passes out on playgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, that's not so far removed from your typical noir detective. The hard drinking, tough lifestyle divorcee.
No,
it's established he's divorced, or maybe not. Actually, I don't think they're divorced because I don't think they were ever married. But he's definitely estranged from his girlfriend. He kind of hangs out outside her work. She appears to be an art dealer. But yeah, even then, it's like, okay, normal movie, normal enough.
Yeah, his for the listeners, his girlfriend is Raquel, played by Charlotte Gainsborough.
Yes.
Gainsbourg? I don't know how to pronounce her name.
I don't know. Gainsbourg, I think.
All right.
And, I will admit, I'm going off of memory. It is hard to remember the order of the sequence of events in this film. I
mean, I've got notes, and I have the Wikipedia page up. I can help, but I don't necessarily know how helpful that is for this movie. I don't know how important that actually is with recounting the events.
I mean, the film basically breaks down into flashback, present day detective work, and people getting killed and turned into snowmen.
Mm-hmm.
That's the film. So it's just remembering what order the sequence of events occur in. I believe the next thing that happens is that we're introduced to a mother and her son, and the mother is driving the son home.
Yeah.
She drops her son off with her estranged husband, current husband, something along those lines.
Yeah, it's her husband. It's her active husband. Active husband? That's a fucking weird way for me to say that. I apologize.
Actual husband, okay.
He's on duty. He's...
Active husband. We have an active husband alert. Okay, so, and then shortly after that, and I believe it happens off screen, but she is killed.
Yeah.
And turned into a snowman. Or snow woman. Snow person.
It's unclear. Like, the snowman always makes a snowman, that's to be sure. He's inconsistent with what he does with the bodies, though, right? Like...
Yeah, because sometimes he'll just cut them up into little pieces.
Yeah.
And display them kind of almost like snow angels, but...
It reminded me of in Hannibal, when, like, a killer would do a weird fucked up art installation, Like, he's laying them out in a certain way.
Yeah, but he wasn't all that consistent. Which actually, one of my favorite parts in this film, and I'll just hop ahead so I remember, is the female detective whose name I am blanking on.
That is Katrine, played by Rebecca Ferguson.
Okay, so Katrine is walking by in this, like the center of town, and there's a snowman, and she looks at it and she's like, oh, well, it's a normal looking snowman. And as she turns the corner, there's like a sting note, and you see on the back, there's the like doofy looking snowman that the killer has been making.
Yeah.
It was just such a weird, like, I don't know.
So the doofy little snowman, the best.
I mean, I think one of the biggest issues and one of the most surreal aspects of this film is that we're supposed to be intimidated by these weird little doofy snowmen that no matter what just seem hilarious.
The best little doofy snowman is the one on the poster. Because the ones
Yes.
he draws in the movie don't quite look like that. The ones that he makes don't quite look like that. But the one on the poster, the famous Mr. Police You Could Have Saved or I Gave You All the Clues poster, he's making just a little shitty face.
He's just like,
It's so fucking good. I want to get if I had tattoos, I would consider that shitty little snowman.
I mean,
I don't love the movie enough to get a snowman tattoo, but I love that little shitty guy.
but it's one thing in a laundry list of things that were used for this film that I think make it a little hard to take it seriously as a crime procedural, even though people are dying and it has all the hallmarks of a typical police procedural. Okay, so after this, I believe we cut back to Harry Hole and Katrine, and they've either met, I'm sorry, I apologize, they've either met before the mother was murdered, or after, but
they met before.
Okay, so they're now...
It was actually her first case. She is her going to the crime scene, and he requests a ride because he doesn't drive.
Yes, and I believe he's on suspension or something along those lines. Well, no, I guess he's not suspended, but he
got drunk and like missed a week of work, and they were like, "Hey, don't do that again. Like you're real good at your job."
Yeah, so he's pretty much on thin ice, which again,
it's a theme of the movie, isn't it? Thin ice.
on thin ice. Huh. So he basically goes and he's interrogating people and checking out the crime scene, and I believe he steals her files.
Yes.
To research for himself, which I'm no detective, but I don't think that's okay. I don't think you're supposed to be doing that, at least without asking.
Yeah, it's kind of rude, but to be fair, in his defense, she used his credentials to check out those old case files. So.
Oh, that's true, though. So it evens out.
Yeah. But that's how we get introduced to Mr. Gert Rafto.
Indeed.
Because that's the files she has checked out are for a similar case from like a decade or so ago.
From Bergen. Is it Bergen?
Yeah, it is Bergen.
I'm sure it would help more if you were Norwegian to be like, oh, Bergen. But for me, I'm like, okay, Bergen.
I know Bergen, I know Oslo. I know they're not right next to each other, but I don't know how far they are.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but do the majority of the events in this film happen in Oslo?
You know, buddy, I I can't really say.
Because it's like there's certainly a town they're in, but I have no idea.
They go back and forth between the two towns. I don't know. I don't know, man.
I mean, my instinct is that it's not Oslo because I guess in my head Oslo would be bigger, but then it's like, well, what do I know?
Yeah, I mean, Oslo is not a small town.
No, Oslo is like their main, I believe it's their capital city.
It is the most populous city in Norway.
Well, in any case, we are introduced to Val Kilmer. So I was not really taking notes, but like mentally like, okay, so when is the exact moment when this film starts to take a turn? And, you know, there's little moments like, okay, the snowman's a little doofy. But that's not really when it starts to take a turn.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it starts taking a turn when we're introduced to Val Kilmer, and he speaks with someone else's voice.
You know?
And it looks like his lips have been CG'd to move.
Well, they haven't. He was moving his mouth.
He was?
Yeah, he was. They knew going in that this was going to be a problem. Val Kilmer, if and the listener doesn't know, had throat cancer.
I mean, and I feel really bad because I didn't realize he had throat cancer when I was watching this for the first time, and I just thought, why are they doing this?
Yeah, I mean, that to be fair, when this movie came out, I don't think that he really had publicly said anything about it.
No, I don't think he had, but I knew something was up. I figured maybe I don't know what I figured. I guess I figured incompetence. I guess I figured like they didn't get enough coverage and they needed to convey information. So after the fact, they're like, just add someone else's voice.
No, it's his tongue was too swollen to speak properly, and they made this decision. They had him mouth his lines.
Okay, and then I'm wondering. I wondered too on this second watch, like. It's definitively not his voice, right?
I'm 90% sure that they had somebody else dub in his voice, but I have not been able to find out who.
Okay, because I wasn't sure, because there was one moment the second time he speaks where I'm like, is that just his voice, but he sounds different because of the throat cancer? Because I had skimmed an article that said, his voice sounds different now that he's had the operation on his throat.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's it.
It is. I can see it being a little shocking, but I really didn't have a problem with it, just because I watch a lot of Italian horror, and I'm used to people, even famous people, being dubbed over by someone that doesn't quite sound like they could.
Okay, but you have to come with me. I will transport you back.
Right.
It's 2017. I've bought my tickets. I'm sitting in the local movie theater with my partner. We're 20 minutes into this big budget crime thriller. Val Kilmer is on the screen, and then his lips move and someone else's voice comes out.
It doesn't sound like they really could have hired somebody like a Val Kilmer impersonator, but they didn't.
Just imagine my confusion.
There were problems with production of this movie, and I think by the time they got to the point where they were having to dub Val Kilmer's voice, they stopped caring. I think at that point they were like, this is what it is. The director, I believe, has been quoted as saying 10 to 15% of the screenplay was not filmed. Especially, we'll get to it when we get to the ending, but the ending, that can't be how the book ends.
Yeah, it seems very much like something went wrong with the production, and at some point they realized, okay, it's going to be what it is. We can't do anything more. Which does make sense. I mean, I think one of the most inexplicable things is, so it reminds me sort of the first season of True Detective in that, the difference being I liked the first season of True Detective and it was good. But if you actually go back and try to figure out, beat by beat, how they discover who the killer is and the mystery in season 1 of True Detective, it's horseshit.
That's a valid criticism.
I cannot figure it out. I know it ultimately comes down to somebody, I believe it's Woody Harrelson, saying, oh, that type of paint is different than this type of paint. But it's the actual beats leading up to it are so hard to follow. I feel the same way about this film. They investigate things and then somehow they find the killer. But there's some crucial step that seems to be missing in between we're midway through investigating and we now know who has killed this person or these people.
Yeah, they get there a little too quick, I think. Yeah, it's so fucking weird. It's such a fucking weird. But again, I think they missed the scenes that would justify why this guy is the killer. I think they just didn't get around to filming those scenes.
And that would make much more sense. But anyway, so chronologically, oh god, this is hard to remember too, but so I believe I'll just focus on the murders because that's going to be the easiest.
We're looking at Rafto. Well, I mean, we should talk real quick about Rafto. Basically with him, he was a detective as well, or an inspector, I should say. And a lady goes missing. Her husband, who is played by I can never remember the guy's name. He plays Professor Stein on Legends of Tomorrow. Great actor, but he's like, hey, my wife's missing. Can you take this case? Because I think Rafto might have been suspended at that point. He
seems like it. He seems very much like Harry in that he is a hard drinking detective that doesn't exactly play by the rules.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of parallels between him and Harry, and that's where he gets introduced into this, and also it's where we get introduced to the character of what's his fucking name, Arvis Stup, played by J.K. Simmons.
Yes,
who is a business guy who's trying to get the fake Olympics.
He's a rich business guy. Yes.
He's trying to get the fake Winter Olympics into Norway.
Yes.
But it's important because he was the business partner of this guy whose wife went missing in the past. And now he has business relations with the guy whose wife went missing in the present. So there's a connection there.
Yes, but the film does not do a great job of. So discussing it, obviously it's clear he's supposed to be like a red herring. Like he's supposed to be a suspect.
Yeah.
But the film doesn't do the greatest job of establishing that. Really,
No.
all I got is that, okay, he's trying to get this fake Winter Olympics, and then he's taking a picture of some woman's breasts for his phone.
Yeah, he has a weird thing with taking pictures of people.
And
he has some sort of human trafficking thing going with a doctor, an abortion doctor who's tied in with all this.
yes, something along those lines. So he's sketchy, but and Katrine is following him.
Yeah. Yeah, Katrine seems very convinced that Stoop is the killer.
Yes, but even watching this a second time, it's not really conveyed that well that she thinks he might be the killer. I mean, that she thinks he's up to something and that she's, borderline stalking him and taking pictures, but maybe it's just me, but I just never got the sense. I don't know. Maybe I just get so overwhelmed with all of the fuckery in this film.
Maybe. And again, this may be me again projecting what I know from the book into my analysis of the movie.
I will say, I wish I had read the book and maybe it might have made more sense.
Hey, I wish I had read the book too, because it's really good so far and it makes a lot of these things make more sense.
So anyway, I believe after this, do we cut back to Val Kilmer Detective?
I didn't think we had left Val Kilmer Detective.
Oh, sorry, Rafto. No, I think I hopped forward because I was talking about J.K. Simmons.
Oh, gotcha. But chronologically, I think the next thing is that a missing person report gets called in on the disappearance of someone named Sylvia Otterson.
Yes,
who
played
is
by
played by Chloe Sevigny.
Yep.
I said Savigny. I'm so sorry. I'm bad at words. Anyway, and so basically they go over there to find her just hanging out, cutting heads off chickens. Like, she is not a missing person. They assume, she assumes her ex-boyfriend called it in, just to fuck with her. But no. Turns out it was the Snowman who called it in. Because he was giving all the clues to Mr. Detective, Mr. Police.
Oh, okay. I gave you all the... Finally makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think her murder was supposed to be the Mr. Police, you could have saved her, I gave you all the clues, murder that the film's promotional material revolved around.
That never clicked to me.
Well, because he doesn't give him any fucking clues, does he?
No, there's a false police report, and then they leave, and there's another call that she's gone missing again, and so they go back. That's the extent of it.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a bevy of clues.
I don't... Was there supposed to be more? Was that one of the things that got cut out? Was, the killer giving the clues to Mr. Police? I'm so frustrated because that concept, the concept of a serial killer, and it's a common trope. It's a thing that
I believe
has been done a billion times.
Yeah,
but
it's
I
more or less
love
in
it.
7, or it's definitely didn't. Yeah. Zodiac is a real case.
It's a great fucking trope, and I really wanted to see it with the goofy fucking Mr. Police Snowman. Because normally it's. The killer feels dangerous when they do that, right?
Yeah.
In 7, it feels dangerous. In the Zodiac case, I haven't seen the movie Zodiac. I know I'm fucking bad, but in the real life, it's fucking a dangerous thing. But the fucking note in the poster, I cannot take that seriously. It's like the fucking Bye Bye Man to me.
It's the
not
Pee-Pee Man. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like a fucking goof, and I want to see the little fucking goofy snow boy.
Just picturing the little snowman, and they have a little piece of paper that's got a clue on it, or maybe it's put in the little button mouth.
Yeah, like I love like the idea of this little fucking snow gremlin be fucking with the police like that. But we didn't get any of that. We got this. This is what we have. This is our
what
reality.
we have, and this is what we have to discuss. So, continuing inexplicable things, they come back, and Chloe Savini's still there, and it's established that she has a twin sister, which is very soap opera of them.
Did what? Yeah. I mean, what purpose though? Like,
okay. It just doesn't. It wasn't done well. I can understand the purpose. It would be like, oh, but she's supposedly dead, but then she's right there.
Right, but there's no payoff to that. Right?
But there's
like,
no.
It's just
no,
like, oh, it's
like
her
if they had
again.
even waited and they go into the house and then she's there and they're like, but you're not dead. But no, she like comes out to them.
Yeah, or maybe like Harry like is like, okay, that seems like something is up. We're going to put a fucking like surveillance on the house, and they keep surveillance on the house, and they keep seeing her like walking around and fucking around with the chickens. They could be like, oh, she's still alive, and turns out like, no, that's her twin. That would have been a good twist. Her showing up and being
it back
like
to Metal Gear Solid, inexplicable twins.
Okay, look,
but those twins actually pay off, so that's not the same.
They pay off, and they have an explanation. And
it's not like they just show up and it's like, I'm a twin, and then that's it.
Well,
and we never see them again.
I mean, Solidus kind of shows up like that, right?
Well, okay,
like, I'm a twin
fine.
and I'm the president? Come on. Sorry, spoilers for a fucking 15, 20-year-old game.
I mean, he gave him all the clues.
Mr. President,
Mr. President, I gave you all the clues. God, so what happens next? I mean, I know what they discover. Sylvia, the actual missing sister, is decapitated and dead. Obviously,
she gets made into a snowman.
This is one of the few moments in the film that I think legitimately pays off and is a bit creepy because it's a severed head on a snow. But even then, there's a little bit of comedy. I don't know.
It is kind of goofy looking, but also the comedy for me. Where the fuck was the snowman? Like it seemed like full disclosure, I was a little intoxicated by this point in the movie.
But it seems like it's in like a weird kind of silo, yeah.
Yeah, like I thought it was like a cave or underground. I thought shack with a basement.
The thing that's inexplicable is I thought the whole purpose of making his victims into snowmen was that they would be easy to find and they would be visible, like in front of the house or something.
You would think maybe that's all the clues.
Like miles away to some grain silo and hid it there.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm getting mad at this movie now.
It's not a consistent MO, is I guess what I'm saying.
No, which also like if we can skip ahead a little bit, consistently it seems a little muddy, even like how he selects his victims as a serial killer.
I have no idea what his I mean, I guess I know what his motivation is, and we'll get to that when we get to the end. But it's a very flimsy excuse.
Yeah,
maybe the point is that he's psychotic, so he doesn't need much of an excuse. But that's not conveyed that well.
No. I
will say the killer, who we won't announce yet, but has this pretty neat tool where I'm still wondering what it's made for, though. Because it looks like it's made to decapitate things. I mean, they're made to cut through meat. Maybe it
could be a meat tool. Yeah, a meat packing tool.
Meat packing plant tool, but it's basically like a high strength wire and it attaches to like a little gun with a trigger. And when you pull it, it tightens the wire and cuts through the meat. But he uses it to decapitate people.
That is one thing that video informed for me that I didn't put together, is that it is a lot like fucking No Country for Old Men, like the pneumatic brain shooter and the pneumatic
I would
decapitator.
argue that there's an immediacy and more of a... Like when you see the bolt gun in No Country for Old Men, you kind of know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with this, you're not really sure.
Right.
It just seems, it borderline seems like a weird futuristic weapon.
Yeah, no, like it you're absolutely right. I would not be surprised to see that in like fucking Demolition Man, you know?
But anyway, so Chloe Savini's, or at least one half of Chloe Savini is dead. Or her sister is dead.
Yeah, well, one half's a good way to put it.
One half.
50% of the Chloe Savinis in the movie are dead.
Honestly, this film is so inexplicable. I wouldn't doubt if the headless corpse came back to life, and that was the plot point. It would make the film better, honestly.
I would, like, again, I wouldn't have minded if it had a supernatural element, that Mr. Snowman was a Jack Frost style entity. But it also
I've definitely seen a meme too, doing the Mr. Police with the Jack Frost poster. But I believe we cut back to Val Kilmer's character.
Yeah.
Which is flashback, I should specify. Which isn't
right.
It's not the most clear when we cut back to Val Kilmer that this is in flashback.
I thought it was for some reason, but I don't know why.
I do remember they would hop back and forth in time and not always do the best job of establishing that in the books.
I mean, like, just from the fact that it was like a case file he picked up, I could tell it was in the past, but I have no idea how far in the past. In the book, I think it's like a decade before. But in the movie, it is kind of, like you said, not really explained that well exactly when it's supposed to be taking place. But I guess that's okay, right? Like, I don't think it really makes a huge difference. You know,
it doesn't really affect anything. But
you want me to just put a date up there for you, just so you know?
Sure.
But Rafto. What they find out is that it looks like Rafto shot himself, like Kurt Cobain.
It looks like he blows his head off with a shotgun.
But we find out through the. I don't remember exactly when we find out that that's not what happened.
I mean,
but we can talk about it now because
again, this seems like another case of there were aspects of the screenplay that just weren't shot.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because there's definitely a scene. You know, they establish him shooting himself, but then there's a scene later on where the man puts the little top half of a snowman onto his severed head.
Right, but well, I mean, that's how Harry figured out that he didn't kill himself, right? Because the snow melts, and
I guess what I'm confused about is, like, again, going back to the MO, is the MO just to make people into snowmen, or is it to make them into snowmen that people find?
Well, again, I don't think he makes them into snowmen that often.
No, that's true. I guess that wouldn't be. This is just like putting a little snow head on the person.
Like his MO to cut a head is basically women who don't want their kids, sort of. Because the first, so at first I thought the MO was like women who are cheating on their husbands,
right?
But specifically, women who are cheating on their husbands and get pregnant with the person they're cheating on, but also maybe women who are getting abortions. It's not very clear. There's like 3 or 4 different things and that it could be, but none of them fit all of the victims.
I just assumed was some form of promiscuous women that may or may not want their children. Which is
women
like,
with children.
I mean, it almost is just like just women, like just random. It would make more sense if it was just random women, honestly.
I don't know what they were going for here.
There's this whole subplot about how they figure out who they are based on an abortion doctor, but then it's like not all of them have had abortions, I don't think.
Right, and also he was also not really involved in it, the abortion doctor. Like, because the abortion doctor, I believe, gets killed by the snowman.
Right. Well, anyway, okay, so Val Kilmer gets killed. Harry Hole discovers this. At some point, there's a task force assembled of Harry Hole and other random detectives we barely get to talk to.
Yeah, they're all characters in the book, but not
Katrine,
so much in the movie.
Obviously.
Yeah. So can we talk real quick? We've kind of skipped over the entirety of the plot with Raquel and
Yes.
what's the fucker's name? Olgo?
Let me look it up.
Oleg.
Mateus?
No, that's that we need to talk about Mateus too. Raquel.
Oleg.
Oleg
is the other
and
one.
Mateus. So Raquel, we talked about. That's Harry's ex. Oleg is his son, probably.
Yeah.
It's I think in the, again, to go back to the book that I haven't finished reading, I don't know if he's his kid in the book, but
It's
I think
sort of
I think in the
unclear,
movie
but it
he's
is
definitely
established that this is his ex-girlfriend's child,
yeah,
and that he's
And-
sort of a father figure,
yeah, he's definitely a father figure, but he may also be the father
right? And he's a bad one at that.
a little bit. And Mateus is the new boyfriend, maybe husband. I'm not quite clear on that. Of Raquel, he's a plastic surgeon, and they actually they co-parent pretty well, considering Harry is an absentee father and Oleg doesn't know that Harry is his father.
Right. But there is a very heartbreaking series of scenes where, Harry is trying to bond with Oleg and they go to like a weird concert and they're hanging out. And at some point, Oleg asks him, "Can you go to the father-son camping trip with me?" And Harry says,
Yeah.
"Of course." And then cut to Harry is on his way to Bergen to investigate all of that stuff with Val Kilmer's character and has completely forgotten the father-son camping trip, and we cut to Oleg just at the bus alone.
Poor little guy.
And in a bro moment, the new boyfriend Mateus actually calls and blames himself. He says, "Oh, Harry had left a message, but I forgot to tell you guys."
Mm-hmm.
So he, in a sense, takes the fall for Harry.
Yeah, he's very invested in being a good dad.
Yeah. But yeah, so there is this subplot with kind of a will they, won't they get back together between Harry and Raquel.
Yeah.
And then Mateus is sort of on the periphery, like he's the new boyfriend, but he's trying to be nice to Harry. And then Oleg is the son that's sort of caught in the middle.
Yeah, and honestly, it doesn't feel like it ties in as well as it should. You can tell going into the movie, like based on the opening scene about the family in that opening scene, that it's going to come into play that Harry has a son and an ex, and the serial killer is probably going to target them.
Yeah.
That's just an assumption you can make because you've seen a movie.
Right.
But despite that, I don't know. It never really feels like, and maybe that makes sense, right? Like the fact that his personal life is so detached from his work life to the point where, he misses his kid's fucking trip, which interesting conceptually, interesting to use the disconnect in your film to have these scenes be disconnected like that, but it doesn't create like a thrilling, cohesive picture.
I think one of the major issues with this film is stuff just happens.
Yeah.
And no matter how weird it is, it's almost like the whole thing is a weird dream sequence. Because it's like, things happen. People make decisions. People have reactions, but none of them always seem like a normal thing. Like, for instance, near the beginning, we glossed over this, but Harry goes back to his apartment. Mm-hmm. And there's like a guy in
fucking mold man,
like a fucking hazmat suit who's like cleaning, and he's like, "Wow, there's so much mold in your apartment. You're like practically dying every time you're breathing this in."
Yeah.
And it ties in briefly because we get another scene where he goes back and there's the guy and he's in the same suit. And then we cut after that and we see that the original, guy who was cleaning out his apartment isn't actually in that suit.
Right.
But it's just sort of like, okay,
it's weird,
that happened.
man. Like, it's weird. Like, it doesn't... That's another thing that just really doesn't fit. Like, you come into this, like, first, this is like, within a minute of meeting Harry, he gets up from his drunken night in a children's playground and goes back to his apartment to find a stranger there doing shit.
And doesn't he try to shoot him?
I believe he pulls his gun, yeah.
I mean, he definitely shoots at him, I think. And
I don't remember.
But it's not like the guy flips out and runs away. He's just like, hey, don't do that.
Yeah, and, like, you can't blame him for it because, like, my thought was, like, hey, this is a weird... Like, he's a weird dude, this mold man. And he's in the apartment, uninvited, seemingly. And there's really nothing more to it. Like, it's just an excuse.
Yeah, it's like he shoots at him, he's like, hey, I'm cleaning your apartment. He's like, fine, and then he leaves.
Yeah, it seems like an excuse to just have the scene with the suit later.
Right, but it's like, if there had even been 1 minute of establishing Harry in his apartment, that he was ever there.
Yeah.
Just something. It would have had a little more weight when it's like, oh man, there's a random guy.
Yeah, Chekhov's gun doesn't quite work when a little pervert is running around out of nowhere carrying the gun. Though the weird little guy is way more interesting than the gun in this situation.
No, it's true. And there's just a lot of stuff like that. So I don't know exactly when this happens, but this is one of the moments in this film that has me so perplexed. So I don't remember the series of events. I think Katrine is kicked off the case because they find out, plot twist, spoiler alert. I believe that Katrine's father was actually Rafto, right?
Yes, that is
correct. And that's why she's investigating the case. Okay. So she's distraught and she's, I guess, drinking in her apartment. Harry comes in and, like, full-ass body slams her. We're talking, like, 3 feet off the ground, straight to the back. Seemingly in one of those, like, you're hysterical, calm down. But why? Just why? Why do you need to body slam someone so hard when you could just be like, hey, it's cool. Like, just the most violent. And then he, like, sits on top of her.
Yeah, that was real fucking weird. Like, he was just like full body weight.
You need to calm down. It's like, what the fuck is this?
You came in here, buddy.
Yeah.
You don't get to tell people to calm down.
Comes into her apartment uninvited, fucking body slams her, and then puts all his weight on her back to be like, it's fine, you need to calm down. This is our hero.
Yeah.
Like, this dude, like, Harry Hole seems more like a serial killer than the serial killer.
Like, honestly, if I didn't know this was based on the 7th book in a long-running series about Harry Hole, I would have thought he was the killer for fucking sure.
Thought that the twist was that it was him.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I got the sense that maybe they were supposed to be like a, are they gonna hook up, are they not? But it's like, God, not with that scene.
No, I think, that kind of kills any romance, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't know if that's I guess what I keep coming back to is, why did you need to lift her 3 feet into the air and throw her to the ground?
Well, because pro wrestling fucking rules is why.
I mean, yeah,
he wanted to play John Cena.
This is like we're even with the killer when there's a chase at the end. This is the most violent thing in the entire film, practically. And it's supposed to be between 2 colleagues.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know whether it was just like they were in a rush and the choreographer or the fight choreographer like just didn't time it well, and then they just kept that take, and he was probably like, well, that wasn't the actual take though, right? Like, I'm gonna do that was a test. And they're like, no, it's fine.
Maybe it was just in Fassbender's contract that he gets to body slam someone. And
every film
they forgot about it until they were filming that scene, and they had already gotten all the stuff with the killer done.
It's so confusing.
Oh, speaking of weird, confusing things, Toby Jones is in this movie.
Who's Toby Jones again?
He's he is another one that I thought was probably the killer because
Yeah,
he's
DC's
the guy who
Svensson. He's like
he's a weird looking little man.
he's the guy that hangs out with Rafto, sort of.
Yeah, he was also in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. He was in The Mist. He was in W. He was
that's
Truman
another
Capote
thing.
in
There's some great
Infamous.
talent that is just not used like in any way.
He's barely in the movie, and he looks like the little snowman in the posters. Is really why I thought he would have played a bigger role.
Right, but he does not.
Yeah.
God, okay, so at some point Harry hooks up with his ex girlfriend again.
Yeah. But there's a phone call because Katrine is maybe dead? Like I honestly don't remember exactly what happens to her, but basically after fucking around with Stoop, Katrine goes back to her hotel room because I think she's trying to go in there and like she sets up a camera in her hotel room, and I think she's trying to like seduce Stoop into going back up there, and then she's gonna get him to confess to shit. But the snowman just comes in and like cuts her finger off. And I don't know if she's dead or not. I know Harry finds her, and I know she survives in the book based on, I got a little spoiled, but I don't know in
I've
the
seen
movie.
this twice.
Like,
I don't know whether
disappears.
no, wait, she dies. I think she dies.
I thought she died.
I think she dies because they find her in a car dead. At least in the film.
I think she dies because they find her dead. Yeah, okay,
well,
that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure that the character dies because there's a scene where she is found.
She is found in the car, to be sure, but I don't know what the killer did aside from cut off her finger. Like,
I think he, and this is just speculation, which is insane because I've seen this movie twice. This should not have to be speculation, but I think he chokes her to death, but I'm not sure.
It could be.
I mean, she has a head. I know that.
Yes. But anyway, the snowman gets her finger to open up her iPad and
that's
steal.
Right. And that like there are some. I think what kills me about this film is there are moments where you're like, I can see when this might have become a good film or how this might have become an interesting thriller.
Uh-huh.
Like the finger scene is like, oh, he cut off her finger to open the, and that's like cliche, but it's like done well.
Yeah, it was. And he wipes all the data that could have implicated him.
We should add there's these weird, they're not laptops. I don't know. They're like police issue sort of like.
They're iPads, basically.
Yeah, they're like police issue tablets, but they're in like a really hardcore protective case.
Yeah.
So he hacks into that, deletes all of the evidence. And then other things happen.
Yeah, the fucking I have Wikipedia open right now because I don't remember how he comes to the conclusion. So basically, it's like he and Raquel start kissing. They're interrupted by a phone call, and then the next day, Harry remembers Matthias worked at the clinic that the abortion doctor worked at, and realizes that Matthias is the killer.
Right, but
like,
there's
that
just
seems
some
like a
very
big jump.
Crucial scenes that just aren't, because there's no. I mean, I understand him being like, "Oh, Matthias worked at the abortion clinic." I don't understand how he then comes to the leap of like, "This must be the killer." Other than the fact that Matthias decides to kidnap his ex-girlfriend and possibly his son.
Yeah, they have a little cottage fight, a little bit of truth or decapitation game.
Well, I mean, even before that, though, there's like the big twist reveal is Matthias is talking with Raquel, and he sort of like lets go that like this was never about you. This is about Harry Hole, but this is about Inspector Harry Hole. But then we cut, and he's just like has picked up. I can't retain any of the names of this. I'm sorry, Oleg.
Yeah,
he's picked up Oleg, and he's sort of like doing that cat and mouse thing too with the son, where he's like, I am the killer, and it's too bad that people don't want you or something.
Yeah, it's a lot of it has to do with unwanted children, I think, is his motivation.
But it really does seem like he's just like, he's a character in this film, and then one moment he's normal, and the next minute he's like, I'm the killer, and that's it. Like,
yeah, he was a good guy.
Leading up to it is so flimsy.
Yeah, he was such a likable guy before that.
And I don't know, I just don't think it works. I don't think it's just for some reason it doesn't, there's that moment should be the like, oh damn moment. Like there should have weight to it. There is no weight. It's just like, oh, this happens now.
Yeah, like I understand, like they had to make him a likable guy so the twist would be shocking. But again, like it seems like a twist for the sake of being shocking. Like I said, there seems like there's so much missing because there's nothing to make that twist like a good twist. It's just like, oh, it's the guy you least expect. That's not enough for it to be a satisfying twist. There has to be little hints in hindsight you go back.
It just does not work very well.
Right.
But so yeah, and then we're at this final kind of showdown. Yeah, like truth or decapitation. Matthias has the machine, and he's got it around Raquel's neck, and he's asking Harry Hole questions. Like, I guess it's just about like being a father or being a father figure.
Yeah, he can be your father figure. Put your tiny hand in his. That doesn't work if it's not from my perspective. Never mind.
It's fine. But yeah, so it should be obvious by now, but well, not even, because it's such an inexplicable film. But okay, so the young child at the beginning of the film with the kind of estranged father who is a policeman obviously turns out to be Matthias.
Yeah.
It's not done. I shouldn't say it's obvious though, because it's sort of inexplicable. It's like, oh, I mean, that makes sense, I guess, contextually, but
see, that's where I think the no nipple thing could have come in. Like, we could have seen the dad with no nipples in the opening flashback, and then later we can see a love scene with Matthias and Raquel, and we'll see he has no nips. And that's how we, the viewer, know the secret, while we watch Harry and Katrine try and figure out the true details.
I mean, is that legitimately from the book?
That is legitimately from the book.
I don't doubt it, but it's such a weird decision. Like,
now I'm second guessing myself. I couldn't be misremembering that. I would not just make up in my head like, hey, this man has no nipples.
I mean,
it's true. It's true.
It's no less confusing than anything else in this film. And obviously Harry manages to thwart Raquel being killed by, he somehow, like, in another really inexplicable moment, he somehow like gets the machine loose, but loses a finger because he's kind of like hooking the machine with his index finger, and then the wire cuts through his finger.
Yeah,
but no reaction. There's no like terrible scream of pain. There's no like dropping to the ground, holding his bleed. He's just like, oh, I don't have a finger anymore.
When your baby mama and your son their lives are in danger, adrenaline kicks in, and I mean, Harry Hole is capable of superhuman feats.
Just something. Just have him be like, ow, or just something. But he just seems like it's not even a thing.
Yeah, you already have a guy dubbing in Val Kilmer's voice. You can dub in a scream.
Going, ouch, my finger. So then I legitimately love the next couple of scenes because
I fucking don't.
There's a chase, but it's in like 3 feet of snow.
Yeah.
So like he's trying to like run, but like he's clearly not able to move all that fast. I don't know. I just find it very funny.
You're right. That part of it's pretty good. That's pretty damn
just
good.
Hogwash. But So we get out onto the ice, and I guess Matthias is shooting at Harry.
Yeah, he hits him once, right? He gets a shot into him.
Oh, does he? I don't even...
I think.
Harry doesn't react to anything, so it's hard to tell when he gets injured.
You know, maybe in the book it'll be revealed that he just has no nerve endings anymore. Like,
I mean,
he lost them in book 5.
Like, passing out in the cold so many times, he just doesn't have any, like, nerve receptors.
You know, it could be.
His nipples frosted off. That's the twist.
No, Harry has his nipples.
Harry nipples. Oh, God. But okay, so for some reason, this should be the big moment where, like, heated words are exchanged and, like, the killer gives his sort of philosophy and we kind of get a glimpse into his head. It is not that. It's basically just like, man, women are, I don't like them. And then he falls into the ice.
Falls into the damn frozen lake. Just, oh my God, that cannot be how the book ends. That cannot be how the book ends.
I don't know.
I even if I didn't like the book, I would finish listening to it just to know what the fuck happens.
I mean, I think if the scene had gone on for a little while and had a little more tension, maybe it would have been okay.
I don't know,
but
man.
But the way it happens is it's basically like 5 minutes. He shoots. He doesn't hit Harry, or he does. I don't remember. Harry walks over to him, and the guy's like, "You suck," and then he just falls into the ice, and that's it.
It's like fucking Deus Ex Lake, you know? It's so frustrating.
I guess, on paper it makes sense, like narratively, like, okay.
Yeah,
he
narratively
avoided dying from his mom with the car only so many years later after everything to die the same way she did. But
also it doesn't fucking work here, you know?
It just doesn't. It's just, this is the film where things happen and there's no wait. It just happens. I mean, right down to the very quick capper of an epilogue where we're in some kind of, I guess, I don't even know, some kind of teaching, some kind of university for detectives.
No, I think he's just at the precinct.
Is it just a precinct?
I think they're just giving out case assignments.
Like, Norwegian police, like everything looks so different.
Yeah, it's true.
But so anyway, he's in this room and they're talking about a case and Harry's tapping, he now has a metal finger, which is pretty cool. I wish they had incorporated that earlier because it's pretty cool. But yeah, so he goes, yeah, I'll take the case. And that's the end of the movie. Which, by the way, presumptuous for you guys to assume you're going to get another movie.
I mean, there are like a dozen other books in the series,
I'm sure
but they're not going to.
Might be another adaptation.
Yeah, we'll get a fucking HBO series in a decade.
I think this material would do really well as like an Amazon Prime or like a Netflix kind of a thing. But I don't know.
I think so.
I just think as a film, it was not only, I mean, okay, so I guess now we can finally get into like thoughts. And one of the big issues I have is so this is what, the 7th? I mean, it's the 4th book, the 5th book?
Book 7.
Book 7. Why did we not start with the first book? I mean, I know I've done enough research to know they kind of say you can start at book 2 or whatever, and that's what I did. But even still, and I know they just went off of the most popular book, obviously. I don't know though, man. Like,
I think there's so much potential with this movie, and it's so weird. And it's so beautiful. That's the thing that really kills me about this fucking movie.
Because, visually, it's like you get all the snow, you get like the landscapes of Norway, you get Norwegian cities, it's like the cinematography is good.
A+ cinematography.
Like visually,
it reminds me of
fucking
Black
film.
Narcissus.
It's just everything surrounding the visuals is insane.
Yeah.
And not in the fun way either.
No. I mean, a little bit. Sometimes it's a
Well,
little fun.
I guess the snowman is sort of fun in a weird. I mean, God, that one scene with the snowman, and it's like you think it's a regular snowman, but then they cut to the back and it's the killer snowman. It's like, oh my God.
It's good. I love it.
And it never ties back really. I guess it establishes the killer is there, but then it's like, what are you supposed to picture the killer is just like making a snowman and no one's like, hey, that snowman looks just like the snowman that killer's been making. Nah.
I mean, like they're keeping the whole serial killer thing kind of under wraps, right? Like it's not a public.
That's true. They don't really
thing.
announce it, but
I mean, maybe they should. So it's like, hey, are you building the snowman? Snowman, you need to talk to you.
I mean, it does. I hesitate to talk about police procedural because I don't know anything, but wouldn't it make sense to make that public knowledge so people could be like, if you see any weirdos making a snowman or snowman?
No, there's definitely reasons why they don't necessarily go public with stuff. I think a lot of it has to do with public panic, a fear of and like copycats, and fear of not just copycats but pranksters. Like if in reality, if this movie and book didn't exist and there was a snowman serial killer,
there'd be a million snowmen. Yes,
there would be a million fucking snowmen in like overnight. People would do that, and it'd be fucking very bad.
I guess one of my big issues. I mean, I should stop even specifying because there's just so many issues. But the character of Harry. It's like he's a fucking alien. Like he's so, like when he's a robot in those Alien prequels, he is more human than he is in this film.
Honestly, I think he just has depression. I think he's just a normal depressed
He's
alcoholic.
just a normal depressed. I mean, I don't know. Some of his decisions, the body slamming thing doesn't fit with anything.
I mean,
unless
again,
he's a drunk, maybe he just overcompensated. He was like, "Whoops!" Like,
and again, pro wrestling's fun.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I know, they show him passed out and stuff, but I never really get the sense he's an alcoholic. I know he's supposed to be.
Yeah,
but it never, it's like he seems so functional. I guess that it never seems like it. And I do get the sense that is supposed to be a big, like it's not supposed to be like he can function all that well. It's supposed to be like you lost a week of work. You should not be drinking so much.
Right.
So that's not really emphasized as much as I think it maybe should be.
Yeah, like he's doing pretty well, all things considered.
I mean, he solves a case, like, and he still passes it out in children's playgrounds and stuff.
I mean, he solved a case only after
that's true.
His
only
partner
after the killer
died and he lost his finger and
girlfriend and his kids.
Yeah,
he could have. I guess that's a pretty easy solve.
Yeah, and that would be an interesting twist, wouldn't it? If the snowman was giving Mr. Police all the clues, but his drinking problem,
he was just too drunk to notice.
Like that's too bleak though. That wouldn't be funny. That'd be very fucking sad. Standards. Yeah. That's fucking Lars von Trier shit. That's bleak.
Dude, I don't know. We've spent now at least like an hour and a half discussing this film, and I'm right back at where I was. I still don't know whether I like this movie.
I don't know either, but I know I'm gonna watch it again. At least once before the end of the year, and then probably again next year. Like I think I could grow to love this movie, but not because it's a good movie, but because I have a thirst for weird, trashy cinema, and
but again, it's like one of those classic, and I find them so fascinating. You'll find them once a decade, once every 5 years. They'll be, there'll be good source material, great actors, great directors, all this stuff that on paper should make for a wonderful film. Mm-hmm. And then the film will be made and it will come out and be like just the worst piece of dog crap.
Yeah, it is like My favorite one of those, and I think it's a much better movie than this, but Southland Tales is a similar case.
I've
The
never actually
director,
seen it, but
it's it's a fucking trip, dude.
okay.
But it's from the director of Donnie Darko, fresh off the heels of Donnie Darko. Amazing cast: The Rock, Sean William Scott, and that's it, really. No, it has a much bigger cast that I'm just blanking on right now because it's been a while since I've seen it. But it's so fucking weird. But in it, and also like the first 3 chapters, it's a 9-chapter story, and the first 3 chapters are a prequel graphic novel that I've never read. You go into the movie partway through, and anyway, Southland Tales, check it out. But that's the kind of thing that this is, right? It's a weird, fucked up little movie, and you can't say that it's good.
I mean,
but
for some reason, I think of stuff like Last Action Hero, which I don't even know if I've watched all the way through, but I remember just from my childhood that being this big, just confusing, I believe it was Schwarzenegger, and that was like the height of Schwarzenegger in the 90s, and they made it, and it was just the weirdest.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I also don't know if I've seen it all the way through, but I've seen bits of it on cable.
But, you know, things like, and the reason I like analyzing, discussing these kinds of films is because it's not like, look, if there's like, you know, a trauma filmmaker or there's somebody that, you know, does low budget stuff, like some of the campiness, some of the badness is sort of expected and it's appreciated. And it's like very easy to be like, this is a bad movie because it's a bad director and they have no budget. Which I understand, you know, I like watching stuff like that sometimes too. I don't know. I don't need to be another person discussing that because there are so many people already doing that. But if we're talking about films that should be good that end up being bad, that I'm fascinated with.
This is definitely one of them.
And I guess it just comes down to like that weird, and I've said this word now a million times, but that weird inexplicable quality that will make a film either good or bad. And I know there are obviously levels in between, but for some reason I keep thinking of, what was it called? Predators? I can't remember. There was one of the newer Predator films.
Yeah, you said Predator's weird, but that you're talking about the third one, the one that where the people get abducted and put on the Predator planet?
No. This is a newer one than that, I think.
The Predator, then, the one directed by Shane Black.
Yes, I'm thinking of that.
Yeah. That's a pretty good fucking example.
And it's like it has a decent enough cast, and the plot is interesting enough. So by Predator
Shane Black,
standards,
I love
it should
Shane
be
Black,
good, but it's bad.
It's real bad.
It's real bad. And I mean, there's Predator dogs, and it's still bad.
Not to analyze a different bad movie, but if I remember correctly, it had like a kind of problematic portrayal of autism.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, because it's like the autistic kid's able to like put a little spaceship together.
Yeah, in the way that autism is like a superpower in lazy fucking writing. Like it's, and oh my god, can we talk about the deleted ending, the one of the original endings of that movie, real quick?
Which one of the Predator?
Of the Predator. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So spoilers, cut ahead a minute or two probably if you don't want spoiled this kind of bad Predator movie.
I mean, it's also like the 7th sequel or something.
It is the 4th. It is the fourth Predator
feels like
movie.
It should be the 7th.
If you're not counting the Alien vs. Predator franchise, which I do not.
Yeah, I guess those are a separate thing. So you're right. It's not the 4th.
Yeah, it would be the 6th if you count those. Anyway, so the regular movie ends with like they find like one of the Predator's things, like a package from the Predator, and it's like a nanotech Predator suit that people can use and whatever. The original ending, the secret technology that was hiding in the in whatever the Predator chest of treasures on the spaceship was. There were 2 endings actually. The first one was a cryostasis pod with the Weyland-Yutani logo on it, and the name tag of who was in cryostasis inside was Ellen Ripley.
Oh, wait, what? Okay.
Right? Doesn't make any sense.
No, because it's not an alien, it's a predator.
I mean, there's crossover between them. Predator 2 established that the xenomorphs exist within the Predator universe, but we're not going to get into that lore. And there was also an ending it was the same thing, but it was Newt instead of Ripley. So either way, it doesn't make sense because they were in the future.
Yeah, would they have gone back in time?
Back in time, and they also both died. Spoilers for Alien 3. Anyway, you could probably cut that entire tangent out of this episode. It's running a little bit long, and it's really unimportant.
It's fine. I'm keeping it. You know I'm keeping it.
No.
So I guess, okay, final thoughts on the Snowman. Question mark. I don't even know.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like a weird... it's like a weird fever dream. And you are like, okay, I know what happened. And then you go back to it, and you're still like, I don't really know what happened.
Yeah, that's... If you're looking for meaning in this film, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But if you're looking for a silly nonsense snowman plot and some beautiful Norwegian cinematography, I guess check it out.
I guess that's where I'm at right now, is like, it's so pretty to look at. I can't forgive all the plot holes and the inexplicable decisions, but at least it's pretty to look at.
I think that's fair. My final thought on this, and I'm sure that 3 years ago when this movie came out, funnier people probably on Twitter had the same thought. I would be very interested to see if instead of Mr. Police, you could have saved her, I gave you all the clues. It was Mr. Bean, you could have saved her, I gave you all the clues.
Would have been a more interesting film.
I would love to have seen Mr. Bean try and handle a serial killer.
I mean, that's a film right there, yeah.
Or is that just Johnny English? I haven't seen those movies.
I was about to say, I think there was Mr. Bean was in a... but... Yeah, it's just confusing, guys. Like, we're talking, I have a whole podcast dedicated to film analysis, and I've been a hardcore film fan for most of my life. I still don't know what even to think about this movie. Other than that, it is a lot of missed opportunities, and it's kind of confusing that it wasn't better.
It really... It should have been better. I think the story probably deserved better. I think the cast, crew, deserved better. What I want to fucking know why the production stopped so abruptly. Because it sounds like they had more shit to film. Did they run out of money? Did one of the sets collapse? Was there like a big argument?
Like, who produced this? Like, what company?
That is a good question.
Let me look it up because I'm curious now.
Perfect World Pictures, Working Title Films, and Another Park Film are all credited as production companies, and it was distributed by Universal.
Okay, so, I misremembered and thought it was produced by Universal. Okay, so they clearly had some budgetary issues. I think that should be obvious.
I don't know. Like, the budget was $35 million, you know? Like...
I mean, maybe it was something where they went over and they weren't planning to go over.
I don't know. Like I would love to know. I would love to know what happened.
What's so interesting to me, and why I'm discussing the Snowman on a film analysis podcast, is like I could read a whole book about what went wrong with the Snowman.
Yeah.
As I struggle to speak, but no, it's like. I could read multiple books about what went wrong with the Snowman. Like, what happened? It's almost like a more compelling mystery what happened when they were making the Snowman than the Snowman itself.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing, hopefully, that documentary, because there are documentaries about movies that are better than the movie.
Oh my god, a documentary on, like, the fall of the Snowman? That would be so great.
I'd love it.
It could be like Jodorowsky's Dune, except, you know... for a film that would be obviously bad. No, it wouldn't even be close. I'm just saying in the vein of. Anyway, stay tuned for our 10-part retrospective on
That'll
the
be parts 3 and 4. That'll be you two talking about it together. No, don't, please don't do more, Snowman. Think of the listeners.
10 full hours. No. No, okay. We have to end this. Anyway, this has been Celluloid Citizens.
Can I plug myself real quick? I know last time I was on, I gave my website fart.tomb.download. That's too long of a website name, too hard to remember. So I have a new website that'll be up by the time this episode comes out. My new website is what's that George Michael cover that Limp Bizkit did? Oh yeah, it was. .faith. Again, my new website is what's that George Michael cover that Limp Bizkit did? Oh yeah, it was. .faith. From there, you can get links to my Twitter and the Letterboxd and whatnot. And, check me out if you think I was good on this. Or if you don't, just don't say anything and so you don't hurt my feelings.
And, of course, I've been Sean M. Thompson. Thank you for listening. Maybe watch The Snowman. I don't even know anymore.
Who knows, man?
The Snowman knows. That was a Shadow reference that no one will get.
Oh, man, come on. Everyone loved The Shadow. Alec fucking Baldwin being a guy with a hat and a scarf. It's good.
Oh, God. We need to end this or I'm going to start talking about The Shadow.
Let's get out of here.
Okay, everyone. Celluloid Citizens. Goodbye.